Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final episode of the Rocket League Ireland Six Mans podcast here on the official Rocket League Ireland YouTube channel. I'm Enrong and I am joined today by a special guest. It is, of course, the league leader of the Premier Division at this moment in time. It is Mugg. Mugg, how are you keeping, man?
I'm doing well, Rob. Not too bad yourself.
No, not too bad. Thank you very much for asking, Mug. Mug, as I do with all these videos, I'm going to get straight into it. We're going to go cut to the chase, and we'll go through the standings very quickly. Of course, you're leading at this moment on the 6-0 record on 17 points. Followed not too far behind by Future, it has to be said. He's on 9 points with Dry on 8. And obviously, the division has been plagued, guys, by the inactivity. So Adja's on 3, Jaff on 2, Blastler, Walshy all on 2 points. Demox is on 1 point, and Red Eyes Arctic, Jakey, Ryan. Sorry, everyone. Red Eyes, Arctic, Jakey on -1, and Ryan and Virtuoso are on -2, with the bottom guy having yet to play. Mug, I always go straight into the stats, and we always look at points per game first, as it gives you a good idea on maybe not necessarily if someone is outperforming everyone else, because Demox was a bit of an enigma. Mug, I'm sure you'll agree with me last season because he played quite well, but the stats didn't necessarily reflect it. Um,
Yep.
Fusher has to be said, or Fuchsia, however you guys want to pronounce it. I'm going to go Fuchsia. Um, you obviously know him. You're his teammate in many different teams and squads and all this. You know how the guy plays. He's had a phenomenal season so far. He's putting up a lot of points, isn't he?
Yeah. No, I've been really impressed with Fuchs this season. I just think his overall game has just improved tremendously. He's just great player now, very consistent. Yeah.
And compared to last season, then would you say that's just because of last season? Because last season he was very close to being relegated. He was on the edge, and until the last game or two of the season, he pulled off some good wins. But until then, he was right in the thick of it, wasn't he?
Yeah, I just think he's just practiced a lot and he's just a lot more consistent now.
Yeah. On the other side, then of course of that, we'll look with Blah, Jaffa, Red Eyes, and even Dry doing a decent job there in the middle of the table. Um, no one's doing a bad job, I would say, from the stats. So we have Mug. No one's below that 300 point mark that we always say. Look, if you're below that, you're not really helping out enough. But
Yeah.
Demox, Slur, Walshy, maybe not so much Ryan, but those three, could they do a little bit more? And has that been the case in your mind?
I mean, Demox, he's always lower in the stats, but he always plays well. He never has a really bad game.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's just that kind of good solid player that you need in the team. And I think I've been a bit disappointed about Walshy this season. Not sure what it is, but I think he can do a bit better. And Slurian, I've been impressed with. Um, Maybe he rushes himself a bit too much in games, and he's trying to. I think he might be trying to impress us a bit too much.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, they're all doing a great job, and yeah, not
Okay.
too bad.
Um, Mug, I'm going to move on now next and we'll talk about goals per game, of course. I'm going to sort it there for you guys who are watching this right now in column M. Um, Mug, obviously, Blaz had a very good season so far. Now, he's only played 2 games, so you can
Yeah,
take that with the phrase Res on the podcast earlier for Division 2 said was with a pinch of salt. Your stats are obviously very good. We know that across the board. That's pretty much a standard or a given at this stage. Blah, Jaffa, Fusher and Slur all putting up really good goals per game.
yeah. I mean, it's hard enough to compare just because of how unbalanced the games are.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, Blaz definitely improved the shooting. I remember last season his shooting percentage was really really low, but as you can see there, goals per game 1.12, shooting percentage 37%. That's phenomenal stats to be putting up.
Hmm. Yeah, the shooting
And,
percentage has improved. I think the shooting percentage, Mug, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it definitely has improved this season to
yeah,
last season, or from last season to this season, hasn't it? For like a lot of these guys, remember last season, a lot of them were stuck in the mid to low 20s, right?
yeah. I think with the goals per game, anything above that 0.6 mark
Hmm.
is really really good. Um, been impressed with Jaffa as well. His shooting's been really good, as you can see there. 1 goal every game,
Hmm.
and Fusher is always just incredible shooting.
Okay, and on the flip side, then Red Eyes and Walshy, they've been on teams with each other a lot.
Yeah.
Like, can we read too much into this? I know we're at the halfway point, and they have played a lot of games. To be fair, 6 and 5 series each. Well, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm not too sure to be honest what's happening with Walshy, but maybe with Red Eyes he's in that kind of transition period where he's trying to be more attacking, and he's just trying to get the grips with it at the moment.
Hmm. Okay.
Maybe he's lacking. that kind of consistency that he used to have when he was just a solid defensive player.
Hmm. Okay, cool. We're gonna go straight on. We're gonna look at assists per game next, and I believe this one was the one I was looking at the most. It was very spicy between you and Fusher in particular. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, it is. So 0.92 for you, 0.91. Scary for Lan, but that's another topic for another day. Jaffa and Ryan as well doing a very good job. Roy as well. I would say anything like that 0.6 mark again. I would say for the assists.
Yeah.
They're doing quite well. Would you agree with me there?
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially Droy this season, I've been really, really impressed with Droy. Wasn't sure like how he's going to cope in the Premier Division,
Hmm.
coming up from Division One, obviously. But yeah, no, his assists per game are really good. I've noticed when I've been playing with him in the 6 months, his passing has improved a lot. And then Ryan and Jaffa just are just very consistent players, so
Hmm.
not surprised there.
Okay. Um, we've obviously talked enough about, I guess, Red Eyes and Walshy there. There's not much else to say about that because we'll be looking at goal participation in a second, and it only
Yeah.
gets worse for those two guys. I'm afraid, Mug. But the thing is that this will show you a better reflection, I guess. And look, we always say, look, for me, anything above 1.2 goals participation per game, which is assists and goals added together, is good. That's pretty much
Yeah.
almost everyone in the division. The only ones below that are DMox and of course Red Eyes and Walshy.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what's happening with Red House and Walshy, but I definitely do think they will turn it around.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, DMOX, like I still think anything above one goal participation per game is good, so not too worried about DMOX there.
Hmm.
But yeah, up
And
at
on
the
the
top then
top of the
as
league, then
well.
obviously, look, you're doing a great job. We know that yourself. If you have any comments yourself about your own goal participation, you've obviously had a fantastic season, and Fusher and Jaffa as well are doing a great job, has to be said.
I've just like tried to work as much as on mechanics more than anything else. Obviously, that's just paid a bit of dividends there. Like because I remember last season my shooting percentage and uh, goals per game was pretty awful. So
Hmm.
and for sure, Jaffa and Blah all like they're all in the top of the stats, which shows like
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing then, of course, is goals conceded per game. I think this is the one where Dry, as usual, is pretty high up. This is column P. Yeah, so look, the bottom is where you want to be looking at here. The top is where you don't want to be, unfortunately, and that's why there's the big red there beside Ryan. Now Ryan's on that very strong team that won the Andromeda Cup the other day. What's been going on with him, or is it too much to read into? He's played two series, but he's lost both of them. So maybe struggling to adapt to players other than his two teammates, maybe, or what are you thinking?
yeah, I don't know, maybe he's just struggling with the pace, but like he is a good player. Like he's normally around that 1900 mark. But maybe he just needs to work a bit more on his defense and like rotations with his teams. But like, as you said, he's only played 2 games, so we can't really read too much into it.
Hmm. And then on the other side of things, look, I mean, Red Eyes isn't conceding that much per game. That's an interesting stat I'd like to point out here to you. He's only on 1.95, and generally, if you're conceding less than 2 goals per game, wouldn't you say you'd be more likely to win your games, not lose them, which is kind of unfortunate for him?
Yeah, Red House has always been consistently and good in defense, and no surprise there as well. Like and Dry obviously there 1.27. Like Dry's just an insane goalkeeper as always.
Yeah. Mug, then we'll talk about saves per game very quickly. We'll go through these last three quickly enough. We'll talk about shooting accuracy because that's obviously a big thing, which I think you
Yeah.
pointed out already. Saves per game, Fusher's up there. Last season he was struggling with saves per game. He was bottom, I'm pretty sure, all season long until the very last day where Ghost eclipsed him at bottom of saves per game. He's obviously transitioned his game style maybe a little bit too much, or maybe he's not trusting his teammates, which maybe is working out for him. What do you think here is the change for Fusher in particular? You know him best, and also if you can talk about maybe yourself here in a more maybe not so much positive light. You're not playing as much defense, and the same with Stern Demox.
Yeah, I think definitely Fusher's just like worked on his overall game completely, and because I remember last season he was just very focused on attack, attack, attack. But yeah, this season, I've talked to him a lot. Me and Logic obviously team with him. We've talked to him a lot. We've helped him with rotations and everything, and yeah, I can see there that's putting up really good stats again, and not surprised.
Okay. On the flip side, then Demox yourself, Slur, maybe not putting up as much saves, but you can get away with that because your goal participation is really high. Those two aren't as such, would you say? What's your thinking here?
Um, yeah, no, I was just trying to be as aggressive as possible this season because obviously last season I tried to sit back a bit more. and
It just
tried to defend, and it just didn't work. As you can see, like last season, I didn't put up the good stats. Demox, yeah, he's just the solid player. Like he doesn't always get the flashy stuff, but he's always in and around.
hmm
And yeah, Slur is just the same as me. He just likes to play really, really fast, and maybe he can work on his rotations a bit more. But I wouldn't really into that a bit too much.
Okay, cool. Finally, we're going to skip shots per game. We'll give a quick mention to Blah for being the highest and a little question mark over Walshy for the lowest. But shooting accuracy was the big thing last season in Premier, and it was kind of
Hmm.
talked about, especially compared to Division One, which had just had a really high shooting accuracy because, well, no one could save the ball. Has the defense gotten worse this season, Mug, in Premier, or has the shooting just gotten better? What do
Um,
you think?
I mean, it's hard to say at this stage of the season just because the games are so uneven. But um, I definitely think everyone's gotten a lot better in attack. Um, and maybe they've kind of let off the defensive bit, but it's hard to say.
hmm And would you say Red Eyes, obviously, that shooting accuracy is quite low. Um, transitioning to an offensive player, maybe not working so well. Any advice there? What are we thinking with him? Because that's quite a low shooting accuracy, to be honest.
Yeah, I was surprised at Reddish there, but normally his shooting is just impeccable. But like, maybe he's just struggling for confidence this season after maybe losing the first few games.
Too much Apex.
Oh yeah, definitely probably too much Apex, but like I wouldn't blame him just because he's unreal at Apex. And
Yeah. yeah. Jaffa's got an insane shooting accuracy, does he not? That's pretty
yeah,
high.
how many games? Jav's played 2 games so
He's played
far,
two
so
series, yeah, 9 games in total. So it's probably not enough to read into, but it's still pretty good.
it's
Like Few
it's
shares
still
played
really
three.
really good. Like,
Yeah,
but maybe hopefully he can keep that up. Like, and then we'll
transition
see.
moves, but
But I think anything above 30
yeah,
is really
I
really good.
I agree with you. 30 has always been kind of the magic number. But if you're in and around that, it's not too bad. Once you're not below the 20, it's you can
Yeah,
kind of get
no,
away with
yeah.
it, would you say? Yeah. Okay. Mog, let's get into the table. All right, because I want to get an insight from you, obviously. Obviously, Vert hasn't played. He has told us he's going to play. If he plays
Yeah.
his six, you expect him to stay up, firstly. Or do you think he could win it? Well, I mean, if he goes 6-0, he's not going to beat you unless you start losing everything. What are we thinking here about him and other players who played a little? Jake has not bothered to queue really at all. Adzer hasn't bothered to queue, at least in the case of Arctic and Blah and Jaffa. They've tried to queue a bit.
I mean, I definitely think if Vert does stick to his word and say that he will play, I definitely think he's in the contention for winning as always. Like, he's a incredible player. Not too sure about Jakey. I don't talk to him too much, but I'm sure definitely There's no way he'd be in that relegation zone if he played his 6 games.
hmm
And I think Ryan as well. He's been unlucky with his 2 games, so I'm sure he can get out of there.
Okay, cool. Who have you been, I guess, most impressed by this season so far? I know we're only halfway, and Premier is an enigma as always with the little amount of games you play. But who's kind of stood out to you and been like, oh, I did not expect that.
I don't want to be too biased, but definitely for sure, like 100%. Um, as well, Dry. I wasn't too sure how he was going to cope.
hmm
But yeah, he's just been really really good. I thought Jaffa as well, really really good because I think he got through by default, was it? Because Pengu didn't
Yeah, he
play
was on
enough
the
games.
brink anyway. He was always thereabouts all season, to be fair
Yeah.
to him. But he did end up getting through because Pengu couldn't because he didn't play his games. But he was there.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Even though he's only played 2 games, I definitely think he does it. Like, he's shown that he deserves to be in the Premier Division.
cool. Is there anyone you haven't been that impressed by, or is there too little games for certain players, or what's your thoughts?
Maybe Red Eyes Walshy. Um, I definitely think they can play much better than they have. They've still got a lot of games to go, so I'm sure they can turn it around.
Cool. So stay off the Apex and anime for the two boys. Cool. Mug, I gotta ask because this is always the big question: who's gonna relegate? Assuming, don't, I'm not even
Uh,
sure if I'll say assuming the players play their games because I have no idea who's gonna play their games. Jake might just not turn up at all after his. I don't know. He's playing 5M. Ross is trying to queue, as we know. He's queued 6 times already, but only one of his games has gone ahead. Vert hasn't queued. Ryan's queued 3 times, gone ahead twice. Blaz queued 4 times. Jaffa's queued 3 times. Adzer's queued once. Who do you think is going to go down?
I mean, assuming everyone plays their 6 games, I'd have to go with Slur, uh, Slur Arctic, and maybe maybe Ryan,
Hmm.
or it's hard to say because like I think I really rate Ryan. I think he's a great player. So and I don't want to be too harsh, but maybe Walshy if he doesn't uh,
Step
step
up
up
a
his
little.
game a bit more. Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean 2 and 4 isn't bad, but from what I've seen, he could definitely play a lot better.
Hmm. Are you confident to win?
Um, I'm not too sure at the moment. Like, but if I keep playing
Get the games in because
consistently,
you're able to get
uh,
13 and if you're on 6-0, it looks pretty good, doesn't it?
yeah, hopefully I can keep that unbeaten record.
It's another title for you, Tad. Your little collection of many titles you have in the Discord these days is. Leave some for the rest of us, Mug. Like we've been talking about this before. Like, okay, Mug. Final question. Enjoying it this season? Obviously you're probably going to enjoy it more because you're winning more. But what are your general thoughts? Are you a little bit disappointed with how little games have gone ahead? Give us your kind of thoughts, just so the guys on stream know what's happening.
And I've always enjoyed the 6 months, even last season when I wasn't playing too good. I still thought it was really good fun. But yeah, obviously now that I'm winning, it's a lot more fun. But yeah, I think the lads should put in a bit more effort to start queuing, and because then it shows like whoever comes out on top is actually
The
the
best.
best.
Hmm.
Just because everyone's played a certain amount of games, it's not like one person's played the most games, so they have the most points or whatever.
Hmm. I have a question for you on that then, because this was a question that I was asked by another person to ask on this. And I'm glad you leaded me in this direction. Do you think some players' egos, the reason why they're not queuing is because they're afraid they won't win and that'll hurt?
Um, I
Just
don't
your
think
insight on it, but it
I don't
doesn't have to
really
be biased.
think too many people have like big egos. I just think they're really just not asked to queuing. Like it's just yeah. But maybe Vert maybe probably has. I'd have to say like the biggest ego probably just because he is the best player in my opinion.
Hmm.
But I know he's been busy with all the rest and stuff, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But I
Hmm.
want to see everyone queuing a bit more.
Yeah, perfect. All right, Mug, thank you very much for joining me today on the final podcast of the halfway point of the season, guys. I've been your host, Enrong. We will be back in 3 weeks' time, so it'll probably be after LAN at some stage. For those of you going to LAN, we will see you there. Mug will see you there as well. And to all those guys, make sure you just give it a like to all these videos that we're putting up, not just the premiere, but all the other ones as well. And yeah, thanks very much for joining. And yeah, keep an eye on the Discord.
Thank you for having me, man.
Bye bye.